to our special Year 5 movie.
In Year 5, we love learning about science. And we want to show you some of the things that we learn.
In our film today, you are going to see us being scientists.
You're going to see some crazy science experiments and find out some incredible things.
Let's find out about our first experiment.
We're going to talk to one of our main scientists and find out what they're about to do.
So what has been put on your desk ready for your first experiment?
So we have been given some pieces of paper that we have had to, and some objects, and with the objects we've had, with the piece of paper, we've had to write down what materials and all of the properties and things like that.
So the objects that you've been given, they're all in a bag. How are you identifying what kind of materials they're made of?
Our teacher, he gave us a magnet, and he gave us some more thing, and then we're going to test it out, and if it's magnet, it will stick onto the magnet, and if it's waterproof, then when we put water in it, nothing will happen.
And how are you recording your results that you find out from sorting the materials?
So when we have worked out what they are, what the fabrics and things like that are down, we will write them down and put them to a side, and we would put water on them to see if on the second sheet we'll see everything about them.
Now you've already had a look inside the bag. What kind of objects are there in the bag for you to check?
There's sharpeners, pencils, rulers. Some things are metal, are used for magnet, and there's blue tack and white tack. Some things will be waterproof, and there's a weight, and there's different kind of fabrics.
So, what did you do with the materials that you found in your bag?
So we did with the materials. We looked at them and we looked what material they were. And then, for example, we had the ruler, and then that was plastic. They had to see what kind of properties it has. So the ruler was bendy and it could be hard and.
Now, you also had to try and find out whether the materials were magnetic. How did you find that out?
The materials were magnetic. I found that out because Mr. McGee gave out magnets, and we had to use it to see if things were magnetic.
And you also had to find out if the materials were waterproof or absorbent. How did you do that?
We found that out by we had this waterproof water injection thing, and we had to squirt it on the objects to see if they would absorb it or waterproof, or they would be waterproof.
So you just had a bag on your table. What did you have to do with the bag?
We had to like feel around, and there was 18 objects, and you had to feel, and you couldn't look in the bag. You first had to feel on the outside, and it was really hard. But then Mr. Zebaneski changed it, so then like we could open the bag, only put our hands in to feel, but never look inside of it.
And how could you tell what the objects were just by feeling them?
Because, like, I don't really know how to explain, but if you've seen them before and touched them, you should know what it feels, or you should know what it is.
And once you'd felt the objects in the bag, what did you have to do next?
You had to write down what you felt in the bags. For example, if you felt a sharpener, then you'd have to write it down in your book. And then after, you'd write it down on a paper. So you'd write what the object is, what it's made out of, and then what it was made of, or how it felt.
So in your experiment, you're about to be given some balloons and some baking soda and vinegar and some bottles. What do you think you're going to have to do in your experiment?
So what I'm thinking we're gonna have to do is we have to put like the balloon on top of the bottle, and the bottle will have like no lid. But before that, you will have to open the bottle. Then I think it will have some like either baking soda and vinegar in it. And then you put the bottle, and then you can shake it, and then it'll go like something like explosion, or maybe like something to disappear.
And what do you think will happen as you do the experiment?
I think as we do the experiment, it's a bit like what Vicky said, where the baking soda and the vinegar will make a chemical reaction, and then that will blow the balloon. And then it might come off the bottle.
What are you planning to do with the baking soda and the vinegar? Have you thought about how you're going to mix it?
Well, I think that we have to like twirl it around, or maybe just shake it like I did in my last question.
And how do you know how much vinegar and how much baking powder that you're going to use?
I think we'll know because it might be trial and error, because when we're putting the baking soda and vinegar together, and then we'll put the balloon on, and if it doesn't work, we might need to put a bit more vinegar or a bit more baking soda.
So in the first part of the experiment, you had some baking powder and you had a funnel and you had a balloon. What did you have to do first?
So we had to put the baking soda in the balloon.
And did you have to put all of the baking powder in? How much baking powder had to go into the balloon?
1/3 of it.
Now, I saw quite a few of you have difficulty getting the powder into the balloon. How did you get the powder into your balloon?
So what we did was that we all helped each other and we all took it and then we got the balloon and then we put it like that and then the powder started to come through.
Now, once you put the powder into the balloon, what did you then do with your balloon?
So we had to hold it and we had to be careful for it not to like get off the water bowl as it can explode, and if it does then all the water and vinegar and baking soda combined could get out of the water bottle.
So what happened when you tipped your balloon up and the powder and the vinegar mixed?
So it blew up like a normal balloon when you blow it up with your mouth or so it magically blowed up by itself with the baking soda.
And what did you see happening inside the bottle while the balloon was filling up?
I saw that the bottle was filling up to the top, but then once the balloon was getting bigger, all the soda and the vinegar or water was rising down.
And what happened to your balloon?
Our balloon started filling like helium in it, as the combination of baking powder and vinegar also produces some helium, so the balloon started to become bigger and bigger.
So tell me what you had to do with the balloon and the baking powder and the vinegar.
So what we did with the baking powder, we had to pour it into the balloon and then put the balloon on top of the vinegar.
How did you get the baking powder into the balloon?
We used a funnel to
pour the baking powder into the balloon.
And what happened when you lifted the balloon up so that the powder and the vinegar mixed?
So when we lifted the balloon up, it made the baking powder go into all the vinegar, so then it would create this it would create carbon dioxide, which was blowing up the balloon.
Why do you think that that mixture helped to blow up the balloon?
Because if you put vinegar and baking soda together, it makes it blows something up, so it comes into it blows it up.
What happened was that when the solids and the liquids mixed, it created carbon dioxide to blow the balloon up.
Okay, so you've just been given a paper plate with some objects on it. What objects were on your paper plate?
Sand, rice, sugar, pins and rocks.
And what have you got to do with the objects that are on your paper plate?
We have to try and put them in water and try and get them out.
And what have you been given on your desk to help you get those things out of the water once they're in there?
Some tongs, some jugs and sieves, magnets.
Which things do you think will be easy to get out of the water?
The pins and the stapler.
Which things do you think will be hard to get out of the water?
The rice, the sand, the salt.
Do you have any ideas yet about how you might get the sand and the salt out of the water?
Yeah. So I think we might get a sieve and then tip it over, and then maybe the salt and the sand will be catched into the sieve.
So can you tell me, in your group, how did you get the rice back out of the water?
So, we got the beakers, since there was one left. We poured the water into the beaker and then we put the rice in, we put the rice in the sand, the sieve, and then we poured it onto our plate.
So in your group, how did you get the staples and the pins out of the water?
So first we tried to use the magnetic thing to get it out, but we only got it a few out. So we tried pouring some water into the beaker sink. Then we used the magnet again to get all of it out.
What else could you have used to get the rocks out? Was there anything else, any other equipment that you could have used?
Them scissors, because they're big, so you can grab them with them scissors and put them back on the tray.
And in your group, how did you get the sand back out of the water?
So all we did is that we used the filtering paper because we thought that the extra water would come out except for the sand.
Why did you think the filtering paper would be the best thing to use?
Because we thought it would be a good idea since it could get rid of the water instead of the the sand.
And did it work?
Yeah.
So which of the experiments did you enjoy the most today?
It was the balloon one because so many people didn't listen, but I still enjoyed it, even though I didn't get a turn, because watching other people was the fun part, because it got really exciting for me to do it.
So which experiment that you've done today, which was your favourite?
I like the third one because you had to pick up things. You had to experiment things that you had to get different objects to pick up the other objects in the water and see which one will pick it up.
We hope you've enjoyed our science experiments.
We found out some very interesting things about different materials
and how these materials have different properties.
We've done experiments to separate these materials
and seen what happens when some of these materials are mixed.
Thank you for watching our Crazy Science movie.
See you soon!